Hey guys, today I'm going to be going through how to set up a service node. So this guide will be for Testnet, because Testnet is what is out at the moment. We'll probably remake a guide when mainnet comes out, but if you want to use this guide until that mainnet guide is out, all you need to remember is that when I put the testnet startup flags, which means the dash dash testnet, you just won't run with the dash dash testnet, you'll just run it without those commands. So you can use this guide for mainnet too. So the first thing you're going to need is a VPS. This is a necessity for people who are in countries with poor internet or who have poor uptime on their home computers. For people who have really good home computers that are always available, or really good internet with a relatively high amount of bandwidth, you can run a local service node from your home computer. Just be aware that you are fully responsible for the uptime on your computer, and say if your computer unexpectedly shuts down, then you could be deregistered from the network. So what I do is I use one of these VPSs. I'm just showing OVH here. You can use any VPS provider that you want. I just found OVH is kind of a VPS provider that's not too shabby, and their deals aren't that bad either. But some other good ones I'll leave in the description below as well. In terms of the powerfulness of your VPS or the amount of bandwidth that it needs to provide, in the first 3 months, LokiNet isn't going to be operational, so the service node really won't have to do that much. That means that the bandwidth requirements and the CPU requirements, storage requirements are all going to be relatively low. You'll see after 3 to 4 months we'll start introducing the bandwidth requirements probably, and storage requirements, and LokiNet will start being enforced on top of the service nodes. And once that starts happening, you'll start to see that your service node will need to be much more higher performing, and if it performs below a certain amount, it will get kicked off the network. But obviously we'll flag that to everyone and tell people to upgrade their hardware if need be. Okay, so cool. So once you've provisioned your VPS, you'll get a email, and it will tell you some details. It's going to tell you an IP address and probably a username and probably a password as well. So the way to deal with these is to connect to them using what is called an SSH client, or this is how it is with most VPSs. So an SSH client basically lets you log into the machine and execute commands remotely. So I'm going to use the SSH client PuTTY. You can download PuTTY from the internet. It's a free tool. If you're on Mac or a different operating system, you'll be able to find an SSH client for your particular system. So you can see I've already got Testnet service node here. This is because I've already connected to it before. But if you needed to connect, you would put your IP address right where the host name is. So you type in your IP address with the dots, and then you would just go open. So I'm going to double click on the service node, and it's going to open up. And we'll see it's asking me what I want to log in as. Usually the username on these VPSs is going to be root or Ubuntu. Those are the only options I've seen before, but you might be able to name your username a custom name. So I'm just going to put in root, and then I'm going to put in my password, which I have changed since I got it from my VPS, which is a good idea. Let's see if it lets me in. Not this time. Just gonna see if I can get this right the second time around. Cool, it's let me in. So the first thing you want to do when you get to your VPS is to check that all of your software is up to date. So I'm gonna type sudo apt and then update. So this is going to go through all of your repositories and scan to see if there are any repositories that you need to update. If there isn't, it's going to tell you all packages are up to date. But if it did tell you that you needed to upgrade some things, then you could run sudo apt upgrade this time, and this would upgrade the packages if they needed to be upgraded. And this will just get you up to date. There's some written commands as well in the service node guide that will be linked in the description below. If any weird windows come up, the written guide will help you through those as well. So now that we've gotten ourselves upgraded, the next thing we're going to do is type ls. So ls basically shows you all of the files or folders that are in your current directory. So you can see I've got a number of folders in my directory. On this particular VPS, the folders are showing up blue, and the files will show up white, and I think executable files show up green. That might not always be the color scheme that you see, but at least in this SSH client, and the information that it's providing back to me is showing up with these colors. So you can see I've got some binaries already downloaded here. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to run you through how you would download the binaries if you didn't already have them. So I'm going to, so I can just click out of this and leave it running. It's not going to cause any issues if I just click out and don't close it. And then I'm going to go to the Loki GitHub. You can see here that I'm on the release page, but if you're, say, at the Loki project, you can go to the Loki project and then go to the Loki repository, and then you would go up here to releases. So under releases, you'll see the releases here, and because we're using Linux, we're going to target the Linux release. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on the Linux kind of link there, and then I'm going to go copy link address. I'm going to come back to my VPS, and I'm going to type wget, or wget. What wget is basically a tool to fetch downloads and data from internet services. So I'm going to type wget, and then if I want to paste something in the command line interface here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on my mouse. I don't need to do Control C or Control V. In fact, those will actually Control C will close the current operation that's occurring. So I'm just going to right click my mouse, and you'll see that it pastes in what I had selected before. And then I'm just going to press enter. So you'll see it pops up some things on the screen, and then it starts downloading. And you can see if I go ls again into my current directory, you'll see now that it has downloaded the Loki Linux release candidate .zip. So these files are currently zipped up. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to use unzip. Now, if the command that I showed you earlier, which was wget, doesn't work, or any of these commands for that matter don't work where I'm using programs, you can do sudo apt install and then the name of that command. So if wget didn't work for you, you could just type wget and it would install wget. You can see I've got the latest version, so it's not going to do anything. But if any of these commands work, especially the one I'm about to show you, which is unzip, doesn't work, then you will need to download that software, and you can always do that using sudo apt install. So what I'm going to do now is unzip, not to use zip, and then I'm going to type out the file name. There's a trick in Linux to autocomplete your file names, so you don't have to type out the whole thing. So I'm just going to type Loki because that's common to 3 of the files there. And then I'm going to type L, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press tab. So you'll see it completes a little bit, and then it's asking me kind of for more direction, so I'm going to put 1. I'm going to tab again, then it's completed a little bit more for me, and then I'm going to press dot, and then I'm going to tab again. So now I've completed the whole thing without having to type the whole thing. There's lots of letters and numbers in there, which I might get confused with. And then I'm going to press enter after this. So you can see I've already downloaded this, so there's no real need for me to unzip it again. So I'm just going to press Control C, and that'll exit that operation that I was doing, because I don't want to unzip it again, because I've obviously got it unzipped before. So this is a good time to show you how to remove things as well. So if I go ls again, I can see the files in my directory, and then I'm going to type rm, which is remove, and then I'm going to type the name of the file that I want to remove. So again, using the tab completion to kind of complete as I go. So .zip, and you can see if I type ls now, that file's gone. So you'll unzip it, it'll say, unzipping, and then you'll see one of these folders here. It'll be Loki Linux 64 1.0 or whatever release we're on at the current point in time. That's another point. If this page will always show the latest release, it might not be 1.0, but it might be a different release, and it'll show the latest release tag beside it. So we're going to go to the VPS here. Now what we're going to do is called changing directory. So to change directory, you can do cd, that's the command that you prefix, and then the directory that you want to go to. So in my case, it'll be the Loki Linux, and I'm going to tab complete 1.0 rc3, and then I'm going to press enter. Cool. So now you can see that the the extension or the path that I'm in has currently changed, and that indicates that I've changed to that directory. And if I type ls now, you'll see a different set of things come up. Now you can notice that I've imported a wallet here as well. You won't have a wallet here when you download it. This is just something I did earlier to make this situation a bit easier so I can show you around. So you'll see all of these files, and the green files here are obviously executable files. So what I'm going to do now is, because I've already got a process, a Loki-D and a Loki wallet running, I'm going to show you how to kill processes. So to see the processes that are running, you can type top, and top will show you all of the processes that are currently running on your machine. So you can see here I've got Loki wallet Cli, and there will also probably be a Loki-D. So these are the two files that will be running. Loki-D is the daemon, and Loki wallet Cli is the wallet, obviously. So to get out of this again, I can press Command C, and it'll bring me back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called pkill. So pkill is like process kill. So I'm going to process kill Loki-D, and this will kill the currently running Loki-D. And then I'm also going to pkill Loki wallet CLI. Ooh. Cool, and that will kill that process again, so I can start over again here, which is what I want to do. So now I'm going to type ls again just to show the files that I've got in here, and this is where you're going to want to run the daemon. So the first thing you kind of want to do is run the daemon. Now, you're always going to want to run the daemon in a screen. So a screen is basically like it's like multitasking on Linux. You can already do multitasking by sending things into the background, but screen is kind of a convenient way to handle multitasking when using a command line interface in Linux. So if you don't have screen, you can do sudo apt install screen, and this will install screen. I've got the latest version. So what I'm going to type now is screen, if I can spell it. Now you'll see this message pop up. This isn't anything to worry about. You can just press enter after this, and now you're technically in your screen. So now that I'm in my screen, I can run a process, and I can what's called detach from it. And detach basically means I'm going to let it run in the background while I do other operations on this box. So now I'm still in the same directory. You can see here Loki Linux 64. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run Loki-D. So to run most programs in Linux, you'll do a // and then the name of the program or the application. So in this case, Loki-D. And then this is where it gets interesting. If you're doing mainnet or testnet, you'll run these what are called startup flags differently. So if you're a mainnet, you'll just run -- service node, and this will indicate that you're running the Loki daemon with the service node command. If you're in testnet like I am today, I'll also add the -- testnet startup flag, and then just press enter. Cool, you'll see, I'm going to expand my window here a bit so you can kind of see the commands a bit better. You'll see it list my service node public key, and you'll see that it syncs up. For you, you'll see it syncing slowly to mainnet, especially if you've never synced before. It's going to download the whole blockchain. So you can see the size of the block, or you can see how many blocks there are in the blockchain by going to Loki blocks, and this is on mainnet, so it's 94,000 blocks at the moment. So that's going to take some time to download, and you're also going to need to account for the hard drive space for the Loki blockchain, which I think is about 7 or 8 gigabytes at the moment. So you'll probably want to get a VPS that's in the 20 gigabyte range, just so it can deal with the blockchain growth that's going to be occurring over the next 3 to 4 months. So you can see that this node is already synced. I'm going to show you a couple of commands in the daemon that you can use. The ones that you kind of get acquainted with are probably status. So status, oh, if I can spell, there we go, status. So this will show you the height, the block height that you're currently at, which is 4017. If you're using testnet, you can use lokitestnet.com, and this is basically the testnet version of the Blockchain Explorer. So you can see I'm synced up, and with the daemon, it's always going to show the block ahead of what the Block Explorer shows. So they're on 416, I'm on 417, so we're synced up to the right block. So that's a good thing. So now that the daemon is running and it's synced to the correct height, you may have to wait maybe a couple of hours if it's your first time syncing to mainnet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press the control button on my keyboard and hold it down, and then I'm going to press A and then D. And you'll see that's what's called detaching, and you can see up the top it says detached from, and that's the particular number of my screen that I just detached from. So now my Loki daemon is running in the background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Loki wallet as well. So you can type ls here, and it'll show you all of the files. And then what I'm going to do is /Loki wallet cli. And then if you're doing mainnet, you wouldn't run any flags here, but because I'm doing testnet, I'm going to write testnet. Cool. So it's going to open up, it's going to prompt you what is the name of your wallet. If you don't have a wallet here, you'll have to create a new one, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You'll just put a name in, it'll ask you for a password, it'll ask you what language you want to do, and then it will give you your seed. If you are creating a new wallet that you're going to send Loki to, please, 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 please write down your seed. If your machine gets wiped, your seed is your only way to recover your wallet. So if you're going to put Loki on the service node, then you need to write down that seed. For me, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to restore a wallet that was already here. So I'm just going to type key, that's the name of my wallet. It doesn't have a password because this is just testnet, and I'm not worried about the fake Loki that's on here essentially. So you can see I've got some balance here, and the most pertinent commands that we're going to use here is like address. ADDRESS. I cannot spell. There we go. Address. So this will tell you your primary address, and this is something that we're going to need to use in the staking command. I will show you before we go on how you would restore a wallet if you wanted to restore a wallet in the CLI. So you can go Control-C, and that will get you out of the wallet, and then the command to run to restore a wallet, and I'm going to use the up arrow here to get my previous command back, which was --testnet, would be --restore deterministic wallet. So in this case, it'll run, it'll ask you for the wallet name, so I'm just going to say restore in this case. You can call it whatever you want, and then it will ask you for your seed phrase if you were going to restore a wallet on the VPS itself. Say you had a wallet that was already pre-funded. So I'm not going to go through with that whole process. I'm just going to go Control-C, and that will exit that process. So what I'm going to do here is I've got my address up here, and this is the address that's already funded. You can see my account balance is funded there, so I'm going to right-click, which will copy that address, and I don't need that to go straight into the terminal, so I just press Control-C, and that'll get me to the next line. So now that I've got that address copied into my command line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Loki daemon. So the way you go back to your Loki daemon is through screen/R. You can do /X as well, which will show you the screens that are running. I'm going to do R, and you'll see that there's a couple of screens here that I've already got running for a particular reason. I don't know what the other ones are, but you can also see the time that they were created. So because today's the 11th, I can see that the last one I created was 1391. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press up on my keyboard again. It'll get screen R back, and then I'm going to type in the number that is listed there, so for the one that I just attached, and then press enter, and you'll see that I'm back to the daemon. So the command you want to use for registering a service node is prepare registration. So you just go prepare registration, and then click enter. It'll ask you, or it'll tell you the current staking requirement. Make sure that you have enough Loki in your wallet to fund that, plus a transaction fee. So always leave 1 or 2 Loki there when you're preparing your wallet. The important thing here is that you will always run the prepare registration command on the service node, or on the VPS rather, that you're staking from. So if you can absolutely have the service node set up on the VPS, or the daemon set up on the VPS rather, which is your service node, and then you can have your wallet in a completely separate location. So for simplicity's sake, I'm going to leave the wallet on the service node in this case. But if you wanted to stake from a computer that you have your wallet on, you would just need to run the CLI, and it'll show you this command here, and you would need to run that on a separate machine if you wanted to use that case. But it's perfectly okay to run the daemon on the VPS and the wallet on the VPS too. But if you want to, you can also do it separately. But the prepare registration command always gets run from the daemon that is on the VPS, or on the computer that is going to be running the service node. So it's asking me, will the operator contribute the entire stake? I'm going to do the simplest case here, which is the operator has all of the Loki. If you're doing a pooled Loki scenario, then I'll show you how to contribute to a pool. Anyone who is setting up a pool, they can run through this command, or they can use the written guide, which is like it goes into a lot more detail on that. This is kind of just a guide for the more simpler cases. But yeah, setting up a pooled service node isn't too difficult as well, but I'll refer back to the written guide, which will be in the description for that. So in this case, I'm going to go yes, the operator will be contributing the entire stake. And then I'm going to enter the Loki address. So I copied that address before, so it's still on my clipboard, and then I'll just paste it there by right-clicking, and then I'll click enter. And then the next question is, do you want to enable automatic restaking? So automatic restaking, basically what it does is every 30 days your service node stake will expire. So a service node stake is basically what's called a time lock transaction. So you're sending a time lock transaction to yourself essentially, which means you're sending an amount of money that you can't spend for 30 days, and then it's given back to you after those 30 days. So if you want to continue to stake perpetually, then you will want to enable automatic restaking. The other case with automatic restaking is you have to remember that to be able to automatically restake, your computer must be online at the time where your service node expires. So if I know my service node is expiring in 30 days, and I'm using my VPS, which is always going to be online, then it'll automatically detect that my registration is lapsing, and it will automatically re-register me at the end of the 30 days. But if you're running your VPS on a different computer, then you might want to think about when your service node, or when your wallet rather, is going to be online and offline. If your computer is being turned off during the registration period, or the re-registration period rather, then you will not be able to use the automatic restaking feature. Because I'm setting up my wallet on the same machine as my service node, I'm just going to click yes here, and it's going to give me a bit more information. So it's going to give me the start of my address, the contribution that I'm making, and I'm going to say yes, I confirm that information. So you can see here now it'll give you a bit of green text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the bottom of the green text. It might end a bit more off your screen depending on how big your screen is, and I'm going to copy just this section up to register service node auto, and then I'm going to right click. So that's going to copy that, and it'll enter it automatically. You don't need to worry about that. It's just going to go down the screen a little bit. So now I've copied that, it's on my clipboard. All I need to do is Control A D, and that's going to detach from the screen again. The daemon is still running in the background. I need it to be still running, but now I've got that registration command copied to my clipboard. Now here's where it gets a little bit interesting. If you're running the service node on the same machine, you can open up the wallet directly on this VPS. If you're running your wallet on a different machine, you can take the command that is now copied into your clipboard, and I'm just going to open up a notepad here, and you can just paste that command in here, and you can save it for later. So this is the information that you need to register your service node. So you would now go to your wallet, wherever the wallet is running, you would open up the command line interface like I've showed you. On Windows, you don't need to put the // in front of things to run them. You just do the name of the application and then the flags if you're running on Testnet or mainnet. But the command line interface is exactly the same apart from that, so you would paste this into your wallet. You can use the exact same things that I'm going to show you in about a minute's time. You paste this in and it'll work fine. But yeah, that's the distinction you need to make if you're using a different computer than the VPS. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the up arrow, because I was already on this before, and you can see I've got the Loki wallet --testnet. I'm going to remove that restore deterministic wallet, and I'm going to press enter here. And this is going to open up my wallet. I'm going to type the name of my wallet, key, wallet password. There's no wallet password. And it's going to restore. If there was any transactions, they'll come up in green. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste straight into this wallet. And you'll see it comes through, and it'll ask you for your wallet password. If you have a wallet password, put it in. I'm just going to press enter because I don't have one. And it will say successfully entered auto staking mode. This wallet is now moving into the background. So now I am completely staked. What I can do to check those processes are running is I can go top, and you can see I have Loki D running on the top here. And then I also have a Loki Wallet CLI sitting in the background. So this will be the Loki Wallet CLI that will respond to the need to re-register after 30 days. This is just going to run in the background. So I'm going to go Control C here. There's another thing you can do to check if you're registered or not, and that's to go screen/R. So we're going to attach back to our daemon again. So screen/R 13391. Cool. It's going to come back. It's giving me a warning about a double spend. I don't think that's any issues at the moment. But we're going to go in here, print SN status. And it will say that it'll either say that there's a service node currently registered or no service node currently registered. What we can do is we can do print or we can go status here, because it won't be included until the first block is mined. So we can see we're at 425. When the next block kicks over, we'll hope to see our service node has been registered in the next block. So we'll just pause it here and we'll wait till a couple of blocks go by, and we should see our service node is registered. Okay, awesome. Now you can see a couple of blocks have gone by. What I'm going to do is print SN status. And you can see my service node registration state. So the service node is showing up there. It's showing the public key of my service node. And it's showing that an uptime proof hasn't been sent yet. Those are sent periodically every couple of hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this service node public key, and I'm going to show you some things you can do with that. You can go to the Loki Blockchain Explorer here. If you're on mainnet, you use Loki Blocks, but if you're on Testnet like I am, I'm going to use lokitestnet.com. You can put in your service node public key here, and you can go search. Let me just refresh that. It's probably not detected it yet because it's just gone into a block. But yep, you can see that the service node is registered here, and you can see operators and the last uptime proof that it's sent and all of that jazz. So that's kind of how you do the service node registration if you were just a single participant. You can see I've accidentally closed the Loki daemon here. That's no problem. I can just start it up again with the service node flags. If the daemon goes down momentarily, it's not too much of an issue. If it goes down for a couple of hours, that's when it starts becoming an issue. I'm just going to go to Control AD to go back here, and I'll just show you as we finish up the final command that I want to show you, which is kind of how you would contribute if you were staking to another wallet, or another service node rather. So I'm going to open my wallet here, put my password in. So in this case, what you would do if you wanted to stake is you would go stake. Actually, just give me a second. Yeah, so I'm going to show you right now how you would operate the stake command. If you wanted to stake, you would go service, you would go stake. If you wanted to do staking automatically, so this is in the scenario where someone has a pool and you want to contribute to that pool, you would go stake. And if you want to do it automatically, you can put in the auto. So this would mean when all of the participants need to resend their funds, not to the service node operator, but they need to relock their funds every 30 days. Stake auto will do that for you automatically. So this is something that you want to probably discuss with your pool operator if everyone's going to do it. So in this case, I'm going to go stake. Oh, my command seems to have gone there. I'm going to do stake auto. Then it's the service node public key. So the part I showed you before, your service node operator should give you the service node public key. I'm going to go to the Loki Testnet Explorer, and I'm going to exit out of here, and I'm going to see if there are any available service nodes awaiting a contribution. So we can see that this one's awaiting a contribution, or it's actually got some reserved funds here, so I can't contribute to this one because it's not an open pool. They've reserved the cut for some other people. Basically, what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to grab this and use this as an illustration. So I'm just going to go to Control C here, stake auto. I'd put the public key of the service node. Then I would put my address. So the service node operator has probably reserved a specific address that you want to be contributing to, and they'll tell that to you. If you're contributing to an open pool, this will be the address that you've also used for this wallet. So you can type in address and you'll see your address if you're contributing to an open pool. An open pool is basically where they don't specify beforehand the contributors that they want. So in the case where your pool cut is reserved, they'll talk to you, or your pool operator will talk to you earlier about where you want your rewards going to, and all of that jazz. So here I would put a Loki address. Let's see if I can just find. Let's see if I can just find one. We can see the operator address here, so I'm just going to use this as a stand-in. And then I'm going to put my contribution amount, I believe. I'm just going to refer back to the guide here, and you can see service node, pub key, address, and contribution amount. The written guide, which is very in detailed and tells you everything that I've gone through now, plus more, is going to be in the description as well, and this will be updated for mainnet as well as we go live. And so I'm going to put my contribution amount. This will be negotiated with your service node pool operator beforehand, obviously. So let's just say I'm contributing half of it, so I'm going to put 50, and then after that I'm going to press enter. It's going to ask me for my password, and I don't know if this is going to work, but yeah, it's failed to pass the service node public key because it's not a legitimate public key in this case. But you would run that command and it would say forking into the background. If you did auto or stake, it would just show you that you've staked. Cool. So this kind of concludes the end of the guide. If you have any questions about what to do in any one of these cases, please go to the Loki Discord or the Loki Telegram. There's a specific service node channel in the Loki Telegram, but ask any of our moderators and they'll direct you to where you kind of need to go. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. I hope this wasn't too complicated for you. We should be in the future probably integrating this into the GUI at some point to make it super easy, but hopefully with the help of the guide and this video guide as well, you'll be able to control all of this yourself. It's not too tricky, and the worst that can happen, the worst case scenario that can happen is that your funds get locked for 30 days and you don't receive a reward during those 30 days. That there is some concern. The other thing that you should think about as well is where you're going to put your wallet. You want your wallet that you're going to be staking from to be as safe as possible. So whether you want that to be on the VPS or at home, that's always up to you, depending on what your security concerns are. Cool. So thanks everyone for listening. I hope to see everyone out there, and I hope to see people setting up service nodes so we can get LokiNet running really nicely. So thanks guys.